Unlock the blueprint for financial success with a $50,000 income using the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. Learn how to allocate your earnings wisely for a balanced life of comfort, savings, and investment. From essential expenses to discretionary spending, this guide will empower you to make the most of every dollar. Get ready to master the art of financial planning and secure your financial future. The rule of 50-30-20 is a standard method that is used to apportion the spending categories in a personal or household budget. The rule recommends allocating 50% of your income after taxes to items you have to have, 30% of that income to things you don't need but that make life a bit pleasant, and the remaining 20% to either reducing your debt or increasing your savings. The 50-30-20 rule is not intended to be a precise regulation regarding finances. Rather, it is meant to serve as a broad guideline that can assist you in thinking about how to allocate the money from your paychecks. Building a 50-30-20 budget. The 50-30-20 rule is the first step in developing a monthly budget, which is the first step in directing your income toward your short, medium, and long-term goals. Making a monthly budget is the first step in directing your income toward your goals. You should begin with your monthly income after taxes, depending on your most recent paychecks. In order to meet your 50-30-20 financial goal, you will need to slice up that pie. Mandatory expenses, the 50%. After you have determined your monthly income, the next step is to examine your expenses, including your rent or mortgage, car payments, gas, electric, and phone bills. The next step is to make an estimate of how much you spend on groceries on a monthly basis. These are the most fundamental requirements for you. When you add everything up, if it amounts to no more than half of your net income or less, then you are already well on your way to creating a budget based on the 50-30-20 rule. If it takes up more than half of your income, you should evaluate where you might make reductions in spending. Do you require that car for your job, or do you merely use it for pleasure on the weekends? How much does it cost you to park it each day? When you go grocery shopping, do you keep an eye on your spending? Additionally, some of those beverages that you consume definitely belong in the following group. Creature comforts. The 30%, assuming that your essential expenses consume half of your income after taxes, it is important to examine how you use the remaining funds in your budget. You can figure out how much you spend on things like entertainment, such as cable and streaming services, eating out, traveling, shopping, and taking care of yourself by looking at your bank and credit card transactions. Take a look at your spending patterns over the course of a few months to get an idea of how much you're shelling out on a monthly basis and how that stacks up against your income. If it's more than 30%, look through the list to figure out which of these pleasures you'll miss the least, and then make some adjustments to your spending for the upcoming weeks and months. Paying down debt and building wealth, the 20%. The remaining 20%, which includes paying off debt and saving money, calls for some self-control. It is tempting, particularly if you are just starting out, to put off saving money and limit monthly debt payments to the bare minimum that is required. This is especially true if you are just beginning out. But think about it. The interest rates charged on credit cards and student loans are often quite high. Having debt with a high interest rate can be a significant barrier in the way of achieving your monetary objectives. Consider the purpose of your savings if you have a debt load that is reasonable and are setting aside 20% of your income for savings. A convenient emergency fund, such as a savings account, should have enough money to cover 6 months' worth of living expenses and should be conveniently accessible. If, on the other hand, you are putting money away for longer-term goals, such as retirement, you should probably look into opening an individual retirement account, IRA. If your workplace provides a 401(k) plan, you should contribute the maximum amount that you are able to, especially if they would match a percentage of what you put in. Managing a $50,000 income with a 50-30-20 budgeting approach can be a smart way to balance your financial priorities. This approach allocates your income into 3 main categories: necessities 50%, $25,000, housing, rent, mortgage, utilities, insurance, groceries, transportation, car payment, gas, public transport, health insurance and medical expenses, minimum debt payments if applicable, wants 30%, $15,000, entertainment, eating out, movies, hobbies, travel and vacations, non-essential shopping, clothes, electronics, etc., gym memberships, subscriptions, and other non-essential expenses. Savings and investments, 20%, $10,000. Emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Retirement accounts, 401,000 IRA, etc. Other investments, stocks, bonds, real estate, etc. Additional savings goals, for example, for a house, education, etc. Here are some tips on how to implement this budget. 1. Track your spending. Keeping careful tabs on your expenditures is essential to developing a workable budget. During the course of a month, it requires noting every single expense, irrespective of how trivial it may be. This covers recurring expenses such as a mortgage or rent payment, as well as variable costs such as groceries and going out to entertainment. This practice will provide you a clear picture of where your money is going and will assist you in identifying areas in which you may be spending more than you should be. Think about using applications or solutions for budgeting that automatically organize your spending into categories. These things have the potential to make the process considerably simpler. Regularly reviewing your bank and credit card statements might help you spot any inconsistencies that may have occurred. 2. Prioritize necessities. Your first and foremost financial priority should always be meeting your basic requirements. These are the kinds of costs that are absolutely necessary for day-to-day existence. Housing expenses fall under this area and can be broken down as follows: monthly rent or mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, and utility bills. In addition, it pays for groceries, transportation expenditures, such as gas, car payments, and fares for public transit, and necessary healthcare expenses such as insurance premiums and prescription drugs. Check to see that these expenses are well managed and don't take up more than half of your revenue. Investigate several strategies to cut costs in this area, such as switching to public transportation, reducing the size of your living space, or making more informed decisions when purchasing goods. 3. Limit non-essential spending. The wants category includes expenditures made on non-essential products and activities that are made at one's own discretion. This includes going out to eat, going to the movies, and spending money on hobbies and other activities that are considered forms of entertainment. Shopping for non-essential products like apparel, gadgets, and other pleasures, as well as traveling and taking vacations, are examples of the kind of expenditures that fall under this category. Even while it's necessary to make the most of life and have fun, you still need to be careful about how much money you spend in this area. Think about adopting more cost-effective alternatives, such as preparing meals at home rather than dining out on a regular basis, or looking into free or inexpensive alternatives to traditional forms of entertainment. 4. Build an emergency fund. A savings account designated specifically for use in times of unexpected financial need can be thought of as both a mental and financial buffer. It provides protection against unforeseen costs such as sudden job loss, major car repairs, or medical emergency. In a perfect world, it ought to be enough to cover your living expenditures for 3 to 6 months. To begin building this fund, first put aside a portion of your salary on a regular basis until you reach the sum that you have established as your goal. You might want to consider putting this money in a different savings account that is still easy to get to. In this way, you will have easy access to it whenever it is required. 5. Contribute to retirement accounts. Saving for retirement is absolutely necessary if you want to be financially stable in your golden years. Make consistent payments into retirement accounts, such as 401,000s and IRAs on a regular basis. Take advantage of any company contributions that are matched, as this practically amounts to free money for your retirement savings. Put aside a certain amount of money from each month's earnings specifically for your retirement fund. To maximize your potential return from compound interest, it is in your best interest to make periodic increases in the amount you contribute over time. 6. Review and adjust. It is essential to the efficiency of your budget to examine it on a regular basis and make necessary adjustments. The conditions of one's life, as well as their income and expenditures, might shift throughout time. Make sure that your budget is still in line with your long-term financial objectives by giving it a thorough review at regular intervals. If you discover that you routinely go over budget in a certain category, you should think about strategies to reduce your spending in that area. If, on the other hand, you routinely have additional funds left over after paying for your expenses, you should think about putting those extra funds into savings or investments. 7. Set clear goals. Clearly defining your financial objectives will provide both direction and motivation for your attempts to create a budget. Find out exactly what it is that you want to save up for, whether it be a particular item, a down payment on a house, the education of your children, or a happy retirement. Having goals that are well-defined makes it easier to stick to your financial plan. Your goals should be broken down into smaller, more attainable benchmarks. For instance, if you are putting money down for a down payment on a house, you should establish particular monthly savings goals.